Hi, everybody. Um, if you are watching this on a Courthouse Kidnapping YouTube channel, welcome. I would like to direct you to the playlist that says All in Order because it's a lot. Very intricate situation that we have found ourselves in here in Virginia Beach. So there's still obviously going to be many more videos to come. I had no idea that I would still be speaking about this 3 years. Manipulating someone's child, first of all, is a monstrous thing to do. Manipulating any child is a monstrous thing to do. Manipulating any child to have any kind of negativity or fear or hate in their heart is a nasty thing to do. Is a monster thing to do. You're molding that individual to be wired for fear for the rest of their life. And that's not love. I'll say that right now. I want to talk a lot about mental health in this particular video. I'm going to talk about how I got through a lot of stuff. Because 3 years is a long time to not be able to hug or see your children, to have them inundated in an echo chamber of hate towards you, unnecessary, spiteful, nasty hate. And abusers are going to do what abusers are going to do. It's no different than, there are parallels to psychological, emotional abuse in relationships as well. It's repetition. If you hear something enough times, neurologically, the structure of your brain is going to change. Those synapses will strengthen. This is called Hebb's model. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Neuro is everything about that. There's a reason why individuals who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's are always given little brain games to do that seem so simple, but those simple changes can go a very long way. And it's very beautiful. And I'm going to talk a lot about neuroplasticity in this video as well, and how I used it to kind of get through everything and just somehow still be here. Things keep trying to take me down, and I just keep standing right back up. In 40 years, it's crazy. But to remove someone's life force for doing nothing wrong, is cruel and unusual punishment, even though no crime was committed. And it's not just cruel and unusual to the parent that is being alienated. It is demonstrably cruel and unusual to the child, because that's something that they're going to have to learn how to understand the rest of their life. That deception, how are they tricked? There's going to be guilt. You're hurting these kids by selling them. So by the last court date was in October, they really started all this stuff up in like April-ish. All the custody stuff, all the false police. Once again, I will direct you to the playlist titled All of Them in Order. If you are watching this on the Courthouse Kidnapping YouTube channel, you'll see. If this was a movie, if somebody told, like, if I were to go see a movie, which I'm not really a movie person because I'm very narcoleptic, but if I were to see this in a movie, I would think that there were too many weird plot twists for it to make sense. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. That's what Mr. Ballin says. And he is, oh my goodness, he is absolutely friggin' correct. Go watch Mr. Ballin, Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. He's really good. An amazing storyteller. He used to be a Navy SEAL. And I'm pretty sure he was stationed here at one point. Maybe Norfolk, I think. I don't know. He's not a Navy SEAL anymore. He's retired. But he's on YouTube. He does just such a good job. Very entertaining. I listened to a lot of YouTube stuff that was crazy, especially during everything that was happening. And Mr. Ballin was one of those channels. I was doing it to take my brain off of everything that was happening to me at once, to give it a break from the trauma, from the pain, from the betrayal that was coming from every direction when this first started. So it started around April. The homelessness started in the month before. And that was after the annulment, 10-year annulment. There's video in that too. After I had already been disabled for quite some time. But there had already been years of so much behind the scenes with these individuals. And I just always kind of thought that with every situation, and I know I have to say this in at least one of those videos, I haven't gone back to view them, and many of them were recorded over a year ago, but I know I've said this. I always thought, that, okay, well, maybe they're done now. Maybe they got it out of their system. I never thought anyone would take it this far. And then when they were able to link up with some very criminal attorneys, I don't know, they really are attorneys, but they're also criminals. So it just, perfect storm, perfect storm. And me and my children were caught in the whirlwind. So many years. And the whole time I feel so naive because I was trying to keep it all together by myself, trying to do everything I could to love these kids. And everything was just on fire around this familial situation, most of which I married into and then joined forces with. It's like a cult. It is cult-like behavior. It is straight up cult-like behavior, especially the brainwashing that's been done on the children, for sure. For sure. But it was like that meme that you see of, I don't know if it's a mouse or a bear or a dog or something, but he's sitting in a restaurant and the whole restaurant's on fire. And it's just like, this is fine. I just smiled through it for so many years. I never thought anyone would ever take it this far. I thought, like normal people, everyone would just kind of move on and we'd be like, you don't ever, the ostracization that I've experienced from my own family is unreal over a house over property and money. Unreal. I haven't been called on my birthday in many, many years. I do not get calls on Mother's Day. I do not get calls on Christmas. I could go up to my mother and her boyfriend, starving and beaten, and they would turn their heads. Jennifer would pretend to look. Chris would just turn away. This is no longer speculation, by the way. It's been a lot. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about mental health. Let's talk about mental illness. Something that I really want to do with Contextually Human is talk about how we as human beings have such a vital interaction with our environment as our environment does with us. And there are 3 things that you need to learn from every situation that causes any emotion within you. 3 questions you need to ask yourself. What did that teach me about myself? What did that teach me about the other party or parties involved? What did that teach me about the environment and context that situation happened in? And really analyze those answers And I used to tell all of my coaching clients this. The more you learn about yourself and your environment and the way there is this continual interplay with the two that we don't even really notice, because we're just living. We're just in here living. It becomes a lot easier to not only gauge when that situation might happen again, know whether you want it to happen again. I mean, even good, even positive emotions. I don't just mean the bad stuff. We are, as human beings, we are constantly evolving. We're constantly learning. Honey, outside of illness or age-related dementia, your brain can learn cradle to grave, and it does. It does. I use my own training in neuroplasticity, my own training that I had the privilege of receiving for my career before all this happened. To help you guys, I had no idea I was actually saving my own life. And thank goodness, I'm just so grateful. I mentioned in so many of my videos that I'm so grateful for my education, and that's exactly what I mean. And it's also another reason why I would love to, part of Mona's Laws is going to be to bring better education when it comes to mental health and neurology into our public schooling and abuse, because children cannot acknowledge that something is happening to them if they don't understand it and they don't recognize it. The pediatric brain is in such a state of flux, right? And you've all heard this. The human brain does not stop developing until the 3rd decade of life. And that's mostly the prefrontal cortex. Even in adults with trauma, the prefrontal cortex actually shrinks a little bit. And the reasoning for this is because the prefrontal cortex is the top. It's our new brain. It is what is responsible for language, decision-making, understanding of consequences for action, understanding of give and take, understanding of the world around you, how you fit into it, how everyone fits into your world. Those are all very important things. Even in adults, so many adults have such a difficult time coping with their emotions only because they have a hard time labeling them. Because sometimes our perceptions and our sensations aren't exactly aligned with what our brain is doing. And your brain is built to protect your body. And you can utilize it that way if you know how, no matter what's going on your periphery. Yeah. So, by the time October rolled around, and it was the last hearing, and that was when Leilani Adams heavily coerced me under crazy duress. And the reason that asking someone to sign anything under that kind of duress is actually illegal and a war crime is because of that prefrontal cortex shrinkage. Actually, it's more biological than anyone likes to believe. And see, I'm jumping around. I'm trying so hard to keep this linear. So when you're experiencing trauma, your amygdala, it's kind of like the smoke alarm for your brain. This is the structure in the brain that will activate and is supposed to deactivate the sympathetic nervous system. And that will put you in fight, flight, or freeze. That's when your brain is saying, hey, something's wrong. There's danger. Something harmful is happening. When man was in the infancy of our species, this was so important because when the amygdala activated and fight or flight kicked in, because a freaking lion was trying to eat us. All of our blood ran to our extremities, preparing us to run. Prefrontal cortex shuts down. You kind of just move on instinct. So it was so beneficial. And the amygdala is still very beneficial. All emotions are beneficial. It's how you use them, how you reframe them, right? We have to understand them first. Being able to label emotions is not easy because there's just so many of them and they're complex. They interplay within one another, within us, and then ours interplay with others. It's a lot of fun. It can be a lot very scary too. So the amygdala is the oldest part of the brain. And when this kicks on, your prefrontal cortex calms down because you have a fire alarm going off that is saying, survive, cope later, figure it out later. Right now, you survive. When this is activated within children, that overactivation of the amygdala within pediatric neurology, it also causes shrinkage in the brain, but it causes a lot more problems than that because the pediatric brain is in such a formative state for so long. So let's go back. October, when the last hearing happened, I did not leave that courthouse even understanding what happened. I had been living 6 months of not only dealing with chronic illness, which is something I'm just going to have to deal with forever, and that's fine. Play the hand you're dealt. Sometimes that's what you got to do with life. But because of that annulment, and because the intention the whole time was to make me homeless, all of a sudden, any family I thought I had was gone. My kids were ripped away with lies, a lot of fraud. There are certain diagnostic risk factors when it comes to psychiatry for depression. And some of them are chronic illness, poverty, loss of a parent or child, marital strife, familial abandonment. I experienced them all at once. But after that last court date, I can't even describe what I was feeling for the next 6 months as depression. It was shock. Sheer shock. My brain was not working. It had been prolonged, many prolonged abusive situations all at the same time. Experiencing homelessness. Everything changed. There is no reason. Oh, and everything that's happened since then. There is no reason. There is no logical reason why today I should be sitting here as a human being talking to you guys on zero pharmaceuticals whatsoever, like I am, as if all of this did not happen, except for what I learned. Because I've been healing myself. All of that trauma, bam, 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 bam. It was one way after the other from every direction. Even people I thought were friends, people that I had no idea even ever had. Like, I would never wish that on my worst enemy ever. It was like, when I think back, And I even look at like posts from around that time, like those first 6 months after the last one. And I was still trying to reach out, crying to Josh, crying to them. The lack of humanity in certain people is astounding and terrifying at the same time. But when I look back, even at posts, and I think back, I remember walking around the backyard. The parts of my brain were no longer talking to each other at all. I was on complete automatic, just automatic survival. Just there was nothing. It was trauma after trauma after trauma that very much caused a physical brain injury within me to where I've had to relearn a lot of stuff in a weird way. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that I knew how to do that. I'm so grateful that I had that privilege, because it will be what saved me and what will end up saving my babes, you know. It's crazy how life works out. But you could still see, just like this now, I'm still working on it. And these videos have actually helped quite a bit, because it's helping me put my train of thought back together. I'm rebuilding my brain from all of that. The trauma was too much at once. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, ever. And thank goodness I knew what to do, you know? Anyways, my goal for all of the rest of it, with all of this content creation, and I'll continue to I will continue to better myself in every way, as I always do. A lot of the reasons that I started doing yoga real heavy again when all this was happening, was to help my brain. And we're going to make videos about all that. And all of this has completely just changed the trajectory of everything in my life. In actually probably a really good way. Okay, I need a break, clearly. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And go subscribe to the YouTube channels. You know, a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm working on my speaking. I feel like I didn't even speak to anyone there were days I go without speaking verbally to anybody. But it didn't feel like, I don't know. I wouldn't describe it as depression. I would describe it as just confusion and shock. It's too much. That was too much for one person. I'm grateful for all of you. And it's still going to be a journey. Even in the first video, I said that we had a long road ahead of us. I already knew that. I was already planning on that. But I said, sometimes in life you gotta play the hand you're dealt. You stand as best you can. And that's all we can do. Right? I want everyone to remember that we should all stay grateful for all of our blessings, for bringing us peace in every single one of our challenges, for bringing us strength. And I hope everyone has a beautiful Wednesday.